He wasn't just a cartoon musclehead. He was the ghost of the 1950s reborn in the neon of the 90s, a lost film, an echo of Elvis, a swagger built from broken dreams and digital paint. Johnny Bravo wasn't created once. He was resurrected, again and again, by the artists who shaped modern animation. Behind the sunglasses was a revolution in motion. These are 20 weird facts about Johnny Bravo, a story of vanished films, split voices, and the strange beating heart of a cartoon that refused to fade. Number 1. Before Johnny Bravo became a series, before he became a short, he existed as something else entirely. In 1993, Van Partible created a prototype short film titled Meso Blues, a 7-minute proof of concept animated entirely at Hanna-Barbera. The character looked different. The tone shifted darker, more melancholy beneath the comedy. The film was shown internally, screened for executives, then filed away. For years, it existed only in production logs and scattered memories. No complete version has surfaced publicly. Animation historians have documented references to its existence, confirming it played during internal creative reviews, but the actual footage remains lost to time. What survived was the core idea. A character defined by failure, rendered in bold lines and bolder poses. That lost film became the foundation for everything that followed, a ghost prototype haunting every episode that eventually aired. Number 2. Van Partible didn't sell Johnny Bravo with a script, he sold it with a redesign. After Meso Blues languished, Cartoon Network launched World Premiere Toons, later rebranded as What a Cartoon, a showcase for pilots that could become series. Partible reworked his prototype into something sharper, faster, louder. The new short debuted on March 26, 1995, and the reaction was immediate. Viewers responded to the tighter pacing, the exaggerated physique, the contrast between confidence and constant rejection. The original film had been introspective, almost sad. The pilot was pure kinetic comedy. That single redesigned short became the blueprint for the series that premiered 2 years later. Without that pivot, from melancholy prototype to high-energy showcase, Johnny Bravo would have remained a curiosity, a footnote in animation history, rather than a franchise that spanned continents and decades. Number 3. Jeff Bennett didn't just imitate Elvis Presley. Van Partible asked him a specific question during early recording sessions. Young Elvis or old Elvis? Bennett refused to choose. Instead, he created a hybrid. The rapid-fire delivery and youthful snap of 1950s Elvis blended with the deeper, drawling weight of the 1970s Vegas years. That vocal split gave Johnny Bravo his signature whiplash delivery, fast jokes that land with surprising depth, a voice that sounds simultaneously energetic and world-weary. It wasn't mimicry, it was reconstruction. Bennett studied the tonal evolution across Presley's career and compressed 2 decades of vocal aging into a single performance. The result became one of the most distinctive character voices in animation history, a sound that could pivot from cocky to vulnerable within a single sentence. The technique was documented in cast interviews, with Bennett explaining his approach as creating a time-collapsed version of an icon. Number 4. Van Partible described his character brief in precise terms. A 1950s James Dean body structure with Elvis Presley vocal mannerisms, animated with pose-to-pose timing, inspired by Michael Jackson's music video choreography. That triangulation of references created something genuinely new. The James Dean influence showed in the slouch, the leather jacket silhouette, the way Johnny moved through space with casual rebellion. The Elvis component was obvious, the voice, the hair, the constant attempts at charm. But the Michael Jackson element was subtler and more technical. Partible wanted sharp, rhythmic pose changes that snapped rather than flowed, giving Johnny's movements a staccato, almost percussive quality. Watch any episode and notice how Johnny doesn't ease into positions. He locks into them with audio stings and whip-crack timing. That fusion of 3 distinct performance styles created a visual language that separated Johnny Bravo from every other cartoon character on air. Number 5. Seth MacFarlane rotated through multiple Hanna-Barbera productions in the late 1990s, but he spent the most concentrated time writing for Johnny Bravo. Unlike storyboard-driven shows where artists controlled pacing, Johnny Bravo operated with a writer-focused production pipeline. Scripts came first, dialogue-shaped episodes. That structure gave MacFarlane space to develop his comedic voice. The rapid-fire cutaways, the pop culture callbacks. the meta-awareness that would later define Family Guy. Years afterward, McFarlane cited Johnny Bravo as the place where he learned to write for animation rather than just pitch jokes. The show's guest star roster, including Adam West and Jack Sheldon, introduced him to actors he'd later cast in his own projects. It wasn't just a job, it was a testing ground. The tight deadlines and high output requirements forced McFarlane to refine his instincts, to learn what played in 7 minutes versus what needed longer setup. That education shaped primetime animation for the next 2 decades. Number 6. Butch Hartman's first directing credits appear in Johnny Bravo's Season 1 logs. Episodes like The Sensitive Male and Blarney Buddies list him as both writer and director, marking his transition from storyboard artist to episode lead. Hartman has repeatedly identified Johnny Bravo as his directorial breakthrough, the show where he learned to control pacing, manage voice talent, and translate scripts into completed animation. The experience was immediate and intense. Season 1 produced dozens of segments in compressed schedules, forcing Hartman to work quickly while maintaining quality. That baptism by deadline prepared him for creating The Fairly Odd Parents, a show he would launch, direct, and sustain for over a decade. The Johnny Bravo credits reveal a pattern: multiple future showrunners working shoulder to shoulder, learning the mechanics of television animation in a bullpen that doubled as a training academy. Hartman emerged from that environment with the skills to build his own studio. The paper trail is clear. Nickelodeon's golden age began in a Cartoon Network writer's room. Number 7. Adam West appears in Johnny Bravo not as a one-off cameo but as a recurring character playing himself. In Johnny Bravo Meets Adam West, the former Batman becomes a self-mythologizing detective, helping Johnny search for his mother. The episode treats West with affectionate absurdity. He's dignified, delusional, and completely committed to the bit. West voiced multiple appearances across the series, each one adding layers to his fictional version of himself. What read as a nostalgic gag proved to be something more significant. The Johnny Bravo episodes introduced West to a new generation of animation fans and reminded casting directors that his deadpan delivery translated perfectly to voice work. That renewed visibility contributed directly to West's animated renaissance in the 2000s, leading to his iconic role as Mayor Adam West in Family Guy. The connection was literal. McFarlane met West during Johnny Bravo production and cast him based on that experience. A Himbo's cartoon indirectly revived a legend's career. Number 8. Johnny Meets Donny Osmond sounds like a parody title. It's an actual episode. The plot: pop star Donny Osmond becomes Johnny's nanny after a domestic mishap leaves Johnny's mother injured. Osmond voices himself, playing the setup completely straight. The episode treats his celebrity as both joke and sincere presence. He's famous enough to be absurd in the context, grounded enough to make the story work. This approach defined Johnny Bravo's guest star strategy. Find recognizable names, place them in ridiculous situations, let them commit fully to the premise. The Osmond episode exemplified how the show blurred reality and parody. Celebrity culture wasn't mocked or celebrated. It was simply folded into the cartoon's logic and treated as naturally as any other plot element. The result felt surreal, but internally consistent. A tonal balance that few shows managed as effectively. Number 9. Bravo Doobie-Doo paired Johnny with Scooby-Doo and the Mystery Incan gang in a full haunted house episode. Cartoon Network could have used sound-alikes. They didn't. Casey Kasem returned as Shaggy. Frank Welker voiced Fred and Scooby. The episode aired July 21, 1997 as part of Season 1, and it honored Scooby-Doo's formula without irony. The mystery played out with genuine structure, clues, red herrings, a villain in a mask. Johnny's presence added comedy, but the episode never mocked its source material. This represented Hanna-Barbera's deep bench, multiple generations of characters existing in the same production universe, with access to original voice actors and institutional memory. The crossover worked because it respected both properties equally. It was also a technical achievement, coordinating schedules, matching animation styles, and balancing tones across 2 distinct shows. The result felt less like a stunt and more like a natural meeting of characters who'd always existed in adjacent worlds. Number 10. Jungle Boy appeared repeatedly throughout Johnny Bravo's first season, a recurring serial within the show complete with its own villain, supporting cast, and narrative arc. The segments functioned as palate cleansers between Johnny's misadventures, but they also hinted at something larger. The Jungle Boy sequences had enough development to support their own series. They never got one. Instead, they remained embedded in Johnny Bravo episodes, a backdoor pilot that never left through the door. This strategy revealed the show's structural flexibility. Johnny Bravo wasn't just a character vehicle. It was a variety format that could accommodate multiple tones and styles within a single episode block. The Jungle Boy segments added adventure and sincerity to balance Johnny's comedic narcissism. They also demonstrated the production team's ability to develop distinct properties simultaneously, a skill that would serve them well as they moved into creating their own shows. The spin-off that stayed inside became proof of concept for shows that eventually spun out. Number 11, the early short that sold Johnny Bravo to Cartoon Network was produced using digital ink and paint, a pipeline that most animation studios were still experimenting with in the mid-1990s. Traditional Kel animation required physical materials, acetate sheets, paint, camera stands. Digital production eliminated those steps, allowing for faster turnaround and easier corrections. Hanna-Barbera's investment in digital tools gave Johnny Bravo a subtle visual crispness that distinguished it from older productions still using analog methods. The irony was deliberate, a character designed to evoke 1950s nostalgia, rendered with cutting-edge 1990s technology. That contrast extended beyond aesthetics. Digital production meant episodes could be revised more easily, colors could be adjusted in post, and international versions could be created without reanimating entire sequences. The technical infrastructure supporting Johnny Bravo helped position Cartoon Network as a forward-looking studio capable of producing content at television speed. The retro character became a showcase for modern production. Number 12. Van Partible exited Johnny Bravo after the first season. Season 2 premiered in 1999 under new creative leadership, and the shift was immediate. Johnny's personality tilted from Elvis-inspired ladies' man to broad comic buffoon. The voice remained the same, Jeff Bennett continued, but the writing approach changed. Partible's version had played Johnny as delusional but oddly sincere, a character who genuinely believed in his own appeal, despite constant evidence to the contrary. The Season 2 iteration leaned harder into slapstick and absurdism, reducing Johnny's dimensionality in favor of faster gags and broader targets. Critics and fans noticed the show's tone felt different, less grounded in character and more focused on pure cartoon chaos. This creative pivot revealed how much of Johnny Bravo's identity was tied to its creator's specific vision. Without Partible steering, the show remained popular but fundamentally altered. The silhouette stayed consistent, the soul underneath shifted into something else entirely. Number 13. In 2004, Van Partible returned to Johnny Bravo for its fourth and final season. The decision was intentional. Cartoon Network wanted the show's original voice guiding its conclusion. Season 4 ran as a compact set of episodes, with the series finale airing August 27, 2004. Partible brought back elements from the first season, the character's underlying sincerity, the balance between ego and vulnerability, the pacing that allowed jokes room to breathe. The return wasn't about reversing Season 2's changes entirely, it was about finding synthesis between the different versions Johnny had become. Critics noted the tonal recalibration, the sense that the show was ending on its own terms, rather than fading away. Partible's presence gave the finale weight. It completed a narrative arc that spanned prototype film, pilot short, series launch, creative transition, and deliberate conclusion. The creator returned to write the final period at the end of his own sentence. That closure was rare in television animation, where shows often simply stop rather than end. Number 14. Johnny Bravo Goes to Bollywood began as an 11-minute short produced at Famous House of Animation in Mumbai. The concept was straightforward: send Johnny to India, surround him with Bollywood tropes, let culture clash, generate comedy. What started as a brief experiment expanded into a full-length TV movie when Cartoon Network's Asia-Pacific division saw potential for broader release. The film premiered November 4, 2011 in Australia and New Zealand, before rolling through international markets. The production represented a significant shift in how American animated properties engaged with global audiences. Rather than simply dubbing existing content, the Bollywood movie was conceived from the beginning as cross-cultural collaboration. Indian animators worked directly on character designs and sequences. The story incorporated actual Bollywood narrative conventions rather than merely parodying them. The result felt respectful and playful simultaneously, a genuine attempt to translate an American cartoon character into a different cinematic tradition while maintaining both identities intact. Number 15. Johnny Bravo Goes to Bollywood circulated widely internationally, but never received a standard US television premiere. American fans discovered it through scattered streaming releases and international uploads, giving the film a strange status, canonical but somehow inaccessible through official channels. This distribution gap created a lost sequel mythology among dedicated viewers. Online communities shared links, discussed plot details, debated whether the film represented true series continuity or existed as alternate universe spin-off. The absence of clear US availability made the Bollywood movie feel more significant than its actual content might warrant. It became proof that Johnny Bravo had achieved genuine international reach, that the character had cultural resonance beyond his original market. The fact that American audiences had to seek it out rather than have it delivered through traditional channels added mystique. What should have been a straightforward TV movie release became instead a piece of semi-underground animation history. Discussed more than watched, referenced more than seen. Number 16. Bunny Bravo. Johnny's perpetually patient mother is voiced by Brenda Vaccaro, an actor with an Oscar nomination and a Golden Globe win on her resume. The casting choice exemplified Johnny Bravo's approach to supporting characters. Hire actual talent, let them play roles straight. Vaccaro brings warmth and weariness to Bunny, making her more than just a punchline dispenser. She's a fully realized character, loving, exasperated, capable of both enabling and correcting her son's behavior. The comedy lands harder because Vaccaro plays Bunny as a real person rather than a cartoon archetype. Her performance grounds Johnny's absurdity, providing emotional weight that prevents the show from becoming pure farce. It's a subtle choice, easily overlooked, but it demonstrates the production's commitment to quality at every level. Bunny Bravo could have been voiced by anyone. Instead, she was voiced by someone who understood how to find humanity in animation, who could make a cartoon mother feel like somebody's actual mom. Number 17. Mae Whitman voiced Little Susie from the pilot shorts through the series run. At the time, it was another credit in a young actor's growing resume. Decades later, Whitman's voice became synonymous with intelligent, complex animated characters. Katara in Avatar, The Last Airbender, Amity Blight in The Owl House, Batgirl in multiple DC properties. That trajectory started with a smart-mouthed kid living next door to a himbo. Little Susie was written as Johnny's intellectual superior, despite being perhaps 8 years old, a running gag that inverted typical cartoon dynamics. Whitman played the role with perfect deadpan wisdom, making Susie believable as both child and comedic straight man. The character became a template for how precocious kids could function in animation, not as miniature adults, but as genuine children who happened to be sharper than the grown-ups around them. Watching early Johnny Bravo episodes now means hearing a voice that shaped animation's next generation, a through line connecting 1990s Cartoon Network to 2020's streaming hits. Number 18. Season 1's production credits document a specific moment when multiple television futures converged in a single studio. Seth MacFarlane writing scripts, Butch Hartman directing episodes, guest voices including Jonathan Winters, Farrah Fawcett, Jack Sheldon, and Adam West. Supporting voice actors like Tom Kenny and Charlie Adler, who'd become animation staples. The list reads less like a staff roster and more like a prophetic document, a record of who was in the room before they became who they became. These weren't established names slumming in cable cartoons. They were professionals, learning their craft, testing material, building relationships that would define the next era of animation. The Johnny Bravo credits page functions as a time capsule, proof that great talent doesn't always announce itself immediately. Sometimes it just shows up, does the work, and reveals its significance only in retrospect when you trace backward from later achievements to find their origins in a show about a muscle-bound Elvis impersonator. Number 19. Seth MacFarlane met Adam West and Jack Sheldon while working on Johnny Bravo. Those encounters weren't casual. MacFarlane has cited them specifically as influential to Family Guy's development. both in casting choices and comedic tone. West's self-parodying dignity, his willingness to play fictional versions of himself with complete commitment, translated directly into Mayor Adam West on Family Guy. Sheldon's musical comedy background and deadpan delivery informed McFarlane's approach to integrating songs and celebrity guests into primetime animation. The Johnny Bravo connection was more than networking, it was conceptual education. McFarlane saw how meta-Hollywood humor could function in animation, how real celebrities could interact with cartoon absurdity, how nostalgia and parody could coexist without canceling each other out. Those lessons shaped Family Guy's entire approach to guest stars and pop culture references. A Himbo's cartoon became the unintentional laboratory, where primetime animation's next decade was quietly being prototyped. Number 20. From its 1993 prototype through its 1997 series launch, 2004 finale, and 2011 international film, Johnny Bravo kept mutating. Format, tone, market, creative leadership, while the core visual identity remained absolutely consistent. The character could be recognized at 50 feet regardless of which era or iteration you were watching. That durability came from strong design fundamentals, bold shapes, high contrast, instantly readable silhouette. But the character's survival across formats and continents revealed something more significant. Johnny Bravo worked because he was simple enough to travel and complex enough to sustain interest. The joke never changed. Vain man strikes out repeatedly. But the execution adapted to different audiences, different production teams, different decades. The character became a vessel that could hold whatever the moment required while maintaining recognizable identity. That flexibility, combined with rock-solid visual branding, gave Johnny Bravo a longevity that nobody predicted when Van Partible first pitched an Elvis-inspired himbo to cartoon executives in the mid-1990s. If this deep dive into animation's hidden history resonated, hit that like button. Subscribe for more documentary exposés where we trace the paper trails networks tried to bury,